have lift, meetings, practice, then you have class, then you have study hall. But then you gotta get your 9 hours of sleep and your food. Like by the time you do all that, it's time to just be at the house.
Yeah.
So it's like.
Welcome back to another episode of George on Sports with me, your host George. Returning to the show, none other than Peter Clarke, NFL Academy Alumni, tight end for the Temple Owls out in Pennsylvania. And if you watch the show, you would have seen that Peter Clarke was on the show, I think about February when he had just got out there. And now we're doing a nice little catch up. So Peter, welcome back to the show. And how are you, bro?
Thank you guys for having me again. Like, it's fun to be back on. Obviously, we're good friends. We got a lot to catch up on. Out here has been crazy.
And we're gonna get straight into it on that note. So I mentioned it at the top. Obviously, you were on the show. The last time you were on the show, you were just kind of arrived in Pennsylvania and you were adapting to your surroundings. You hadn't yet had a game with the Owls. Now, roll over to December. You've had your season. You've had it's crazy to say, a whole college season of football out there. Like you've flown straight from London to Pennsylvania, playing on the same damn field as these Philadelphia Eagles, which I find absolutely insane. But it's going to be hard for you to answer this one. But how do you reflect? It's been a season, right? You've been playing with ballers. You've been around that kind of atmosphere and environment day in, day out. Reflect on the season of just being out there and playing ball.
It's tough because during the season, it's like, cool, we play on a Saturday, we watch the film, whatever, cool, Sunday. Then Monday, you're game planning for a whole new opponent. So you kind of have to not flush it, but flush it. So it's like you don't get a chance to really sit and reflect deeply on like what's been going on. So now the season's over and I'm sitting here and I'm basically a regular student that just lifts weights now. It's like I have all this time on my hands. That's kind of, I'm watching the film again. I'm going through the emotions again. I'm like, damn, like I'm really a European kid who played as a true freshman, and like I'm watching my tape and I can see the development week on week, and it's just like the reflection is just an emotional roller coaster.
And it's funny you use that term because that's the term you used when we last had you on the show. I think you were talking about the flight over and about the emotional roller coaster and how it feels us to be like, all right, I've left my family behind, but I'm about to embark on this new adventure for the greater good. I got to come straight to the touchdown moment because, listen, that clip of you scoring that touchdown, I had tears in my eyes. It was insane. That clip went viral everywhere. So people who don't know, obviously you scored a touchdown against UTSA. Was that at home or away, by the way?
It was our homecoming game.
Even better, homecoming game. I want you to go back to that moment, talk about that moment, what was going through your mind, because if I remember correctly, I think the play might have broken down and the quarterback looked like he was about to scramble, and he looked like he was directing guys and you pop open. I think it might have been the middle of the end zone or to the right of the end zone. Take us through that touchdown.
So we run that play and we carry in it for 3 weeks. It's a goal line play. It's basically I'm basically just meant to pick people off for the guy crossing over the top of me. Never even been looked at in practice at that play. Now we go and they were kind of in like a weird look, and the guy that was on me drifted over with the guy I was picking for. So I flick my head around and I see EJ backpedaling, getting rushed, and I throw my hands up like, yo, I'm open. And he just dumped me the ball. And like, seeing that ball come through the air, I was like, there's no way I'm this open. So I grabbed the ball and put it on my body, and I'm waiting to get whacked, but it never came. And I was just like in that moment, my heart was on fire. Like I was just like all that emotion of leaving everything behind, the journey and the hardships I've gone through, the NFL Academy, that whole process of being with my brothers back home in Europe, like everything felt like it paid off. It was like, damn, like I've really did this, and it was like an out of body experience. Like watching that back, just knowing that like I put on a show for everyone back home. Like I made everyone proud. Like you sent me, how many texts did you send me?
Bro, I was going off.
Bro,
I was going off.
And then reading those messages, reading the support from everyone, it's kind of just like, it made my heart so heavy because it was like, I love my community and I love my support. And it's just like, I made everyone proud.
Literally, I mean, when I saw that happen, I literally couldn't believe it. I said, well, number one, guy was wide open for days. And then it's almost like at that point, you think, like you said, I'm this wide open. There's no one coming to tackle me. You make the catch. You scored a touchdown. I can only imagine, like you said, your heart was on fire. I can only imagine the adrenaline, the pump that you would have been feeling at that point. You're at Lincoln Field. It's your homecoming game. Your memories are taking you back to the academy, all the training sessions, all the study, all the work, the flight over. You secured a touchdown in a hell of a game, and honestly, like that clip just went everywhere. It went everywhere, and that's the sort of thing where people who are in the academy now, and we'll come to that later. There are so many people in the academy now, people who have just signed to teams, guys like Daniel, Timmy, who obviously you know very well, who are looking at that clip and thinking, this guy was here in the UK, and now he's scoring touchdowns stateside at the Philadelphia Eagles home field in a homecoming game for the Temple Owls, and that's how quickly things can change. So on that note, actually, just a quick word on the academy, because it's only last week that a few of the guys that you know I mentioned who've signed their deals to Div 1 teams, and again are looking at you and looking at what you're doing, the likes of Freddie Pelling as well, Kofi out of Colorado. What kind of message? Obviously, you've been through a season now. If you were to have a sit down conversation with some of these guys who are about to embark on the same journey that you have, what kind of words of advice would you have for them, knowing what you know?
I would say, like, no matter what people say or how they treat you, always remember, like, you're always gonna be the European guy. Like, there's always gonna be some sort of belief that like football's not the same in Europe and stuff like that, and you always have to prove yourself, and that will kind of help you keep a chip on your shoulder. Because when you go from the NFL Academy being a star to being on a roster with over 100 guys, and you're all competing, and everyone's just as athletic as you, if not more, like you have to have a chip on your shoulder. Like every day here's a competition, and don't think it's not. They're watching how you are in meetings. They're watching how you are in the weight room, on the field, in your lifestyle. So I would say always carry a chip on your shoulder and walk your walk.
Yeah. Something else that I'm intrigued to ask as well. It's one of those things that as a player who played in the UK, I always wonder, like seeing yourself out there catching flights to away games. What was your first flight to your first away game like? Because that's got to be quite a surreal moment.
The first flight was Tulsa, Oklahoma. So we're at the facility getting on the buses. We fly to the airport. I'm like, cool, we're going to the airport. Hell no, we took a left. We on the runway, right?
Wow.
So we hop out the bus. You get your little check, whatever you got to do, show your ID. And then you get your own food. Like I'm eating chicken parm on the plane. Like we eating our own food on the plane. It's our plane. Like only Temple people on the plane. We walk straight from the runway up onto the plane. And then you get the police escort there. You get the police escort when you land. You go to the hotels. Like you feel like a professional. Like you feel like this is your job. Not your job, but like this is what you do.
And it looks that way, man, because I saw some footage and I thought to myself, this guy's jet setting. He's going from game to game to game. And I want to know what that feels like, because I have no idea and I never will know. So being able to ask you live in the flesh, you know, it's not many people can say they can do that. But let's talk about adapting to the US. Obviously, it's a completely different lifestyle, completely different culture. Again, taking you back to the first episode when you came on, you mentioned a lot of like the terminology and the language and having to change up the way you speak and things like that. But you've had a full season. You've lived in Pennsylvania. Obviously, as you're playing games, the NFL are playing games, and that's you're around all the Philly fans and the madness that they get up to. But how would you say you've adapted to life in the States? So that could be your typical your working or school day, where you're going to meetings, workouts, lunch, all them kind of things. What's that like in comparison to the academy days?
So, in terms of the academy days, it's kind of like you get a lot more assistance in terms of like everything is kind of like more patient and looking you through it. Whereas here it's kind of like you're gonna get shown once, maybe twice, and then you kind of have to understand this is how we do things.
Right.
So it's as simple as like at the NFL Academy, wearing whatever you want at practice, wearing whatever you want in the lift. Whereas here there's an outfit of the day for every single meeting, walk through, lift, practice, and you have to have that exact outfit onto the shoes and the socks. And if you don't, you're out of practice.
Wow.
I mean, it's the level of discipline and the focus on the details. Like we always say, how you do anything is how you do everything.
Right.
So the focus on the details is a lot more focused.
I like that because I heard something similar with a number of different teams in terms of that level of consistency in everything that you do, because they want it to translate onto the field essentially. At the end of the day, I suppose everything you guys are doing are tailored towards trying to win games and be better people not just football players, but better people too. So, I mean, whilst I'm a little bit surprised to hear that, I guess I'm not too surprised because they want these things to carry through. So it makes sense. And again, it's part of the program. It's part of how they want to develop and build you guys up there too. In terms of like cultural adjustments as well. So like the team dynamics, the surroundings, but just the overall sort of American college experience. Because I don't know about you, but back in the day, I used to have this opinion of what it was like to be a college player out in the States, like walking down the hallways, if they what they call them, with the baseball jackets on, the baseball style jackets on. Is there any little bit of that's similar, or is that completely out the window?
Yeah, so those jackets are Letterman jackets. So you have to play a certain amount of games to get one. So I met the criteria. I'm gonna get one in the spring.
Yeah.
So you see guys walking around with them jackets. You see kind of the excitement. Like I've had a few classes and guys are going, "You're a football player, right?" And it's like, "Yeah." And the next thing you know, people in the class asking you a million questions.
Mad.
Kind of like the way people perceive you is different when they know you're a football player. Kind of. But in terms of like the cultural experience, I've now had a 4th of July, a Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Like, I've not had all that out here, and it's kind of like Americans and their holidays. They love holidays. So like 4th of July, where was I? 4th of July, I went to a fireworks parade and a food truck festival. That was fun as hell. Like food truck culture is big out here.
Really?
So you'll just get random trucks and everyone's talking about it like it's a restaurant. And you're like, little truck. But yeah, no, there's a bunch of stuff culturally that it took a while to adjust to and get used to. But it's kind of like when you're a football player, I find it easier.
Right.
Because like I call it you're in a bubble. Because you're not like a regular student that has a couple classes in the morning and all day. Like you have lift, meetings, practice, then you have class, then you have study hall. But then you gotta get your 9 hours of sleep and your food. Like by the time you do all that, it's time to just be at the house.
Yeah.
So it's like you live in a bubble of what America really is when you're a college athlete. But I would say the culture is not hard to adjust to. You just have to be open-minded about it.
How quickly did it take you to adjust to the whole? You mentioned it there, like wake up, meetings, lift, lunch, meetings. Like, did you find it easy to adapt to that kind of lifestyle?
Yeah, I found it very easy. So Coach TA and Coach Jerome, like they got me very prepared for college. Like they put me in a position to succeed, and I can't thank them enough. Like I love those guys. I'm a big routine guy, so even at the NFL Academy, I had a routine. I was always first one in the weight room, first one here, first one there, and I kind of had everything all planned out. So when I got here and I was given a time and a place to be and something to wear, I could just look at it and be like, I got this, and I'll just go and do it. I received the honor of being called Temple Tough. So we have a ranking system here where you're a team member, you're Owl Tough, and then you're Temple Tough. And it basically is a ranking on how often do you do things right, how much do you impact the team, are you a leader, or like all these different criteria, academics. And very quickly I got the highest ranking you can get. Just because of the way I carry myself, my lifestyle. Like I don't do things wrong. I do things the way they're supposed to be done. I'm very disciplined. And then I also got named an Alpha Out, which means I was a leader. I was one of the front runners in the weight room during the summer. So those coaches at the NFL Academy, Coach Now, Coach Ray, all of those guys, those guys got me very prepared for college, and the adjustment wasn't very hard. Like I have extremely high hopes for Daniel and Timmy. Like I'm so excited for those guys. They're gonna be playing the SEC and the Big Ten. Those boys are gonna be balling. Like it's gonna be a whole leap of fun for those guys.
Yeah, I can't say I'm surprised that you're coming back with these awards and accolades, because, like you said, you are that guy and you've carried that through from when you were back here in the UK to Temple, and it's only going to get better for you. You mentioned how a couple of the coaches did a lot for you, so it's only right we move on to growth and development. Again, full season, full playing. Experience, different fans, different people around you on a day-to-day basis. Would you say you've grown and developed as a player, as a person, and if anything in particular?
Well, first thing is always like my body changed a lot.
Bro, your neck is looking swole right now. Proper. You got that mask going on.
So my body changed a lot. So that first couple of weeks of workouts when I got here, oh boy. Damn. Like I was dying.
Yeah.
Like
adapting, right?
Adapting, like just the stress that they put on your body, and the amount of it. Like, I'm talking winter workouts, you're squatting and then you're going out to run.
Mad.
And I'm just there like, mad. Like, I'm talking like we're on the field sprinting, running, doing all this conditioning, and coach blows a whistle, breaks it down, tells you to go get your lift shoes on. I'm like, lift? Huh?
Coach, I'm not ready.
And
Wow,
then
man.
and then you put the shoes on and you look at your brother next to you and he gives you the strength to do it. So it's like it took like a week, 2 weeks to get my body into that kind of like, okay, this is what we do now.
Yeah.
So yeah, the first thing that changed was my body. Second thing was like my lifestyle. Is I live the athlete lifestyle, sleeping, eating right. But when the intensity goes up and the workload goes up, the hydration, the sleep, it becomes so much more important.
Right.
So it's like learning about my body, learning what nutrition it needs. Okay, I can eat this, but I can't eat this. Okay, I can't have a Chick-fil-A sandwich, but I can eat this chicken breast and rice. Like knowing what my body needed and when it needed it was a big thing that needed to change for me, and I kind of got that down. Honestly, the last thing is like my football ability and my IQ, like being around high level guys, being around the speed of the game. I came back and trained with Sam Fenton, and he was like, bro.
Oh yeah, QB.
He was like, bro, like the speed at which you're getting in and out, the speed at which you're doing this, like it all changed. And he ended up coming to camp over here, and he had a couple talks with some of my coaches, and they was like, how'd you like him when he came back?
New and improved, like yeah.
So it was cool. It was just, it's a big learning experience, and you have to be ready for it.
Yeah.
Like everything's gonna change. Your lifestyle, your body, your football, like everything's gonna change. You just have to be ready for it.
That's a great point there, and it's also a good piece of advice for those who are watching, who are looking to, again, emulate what you're doing, and those who are either applying to the academy right now because the applications are open, or the ones who are, have already signed to college teams. Is there anything, now that you've had your season, is there anything that you're looking forward to hone in on specifically to improve? Is there anything that you're looking to up in terms of next season?
Yeah, so here there's so many new techniques and so many new things to do things. It was kind of like this season was like learning, understanding, and doing, whereas now I know. So coach always talks about cutting it loose. So great football players are able to cut it loose. They know what they got to do. They know how to do it, so they can just do.
Yeah.
Whereas the players that need to evaluate, they're that much slower. They're one step slower. Their hand placement isn't where it needs to be. So now I understand what I need to do. I'm able to cut it loose. So I'm looking forward to spring ball and earning my spot. I know when I get to spring ball, like I'm a crush it. Like you know the mindset. You know what Coach T is like.
Yeah.
Like we dominate. Like that's just what we do. That's how we're built. So I can't wait for spring ball, going into full camp, going into next season. Like I just want to be able to cut it loose and play free and be able to play so much more.
Honestly, just hearing you speak, honestly, the growth is crazy. Like it's just coming from a very elite mindset. Not that you didn't already have it, because you did, but it obviously had to go up a level. Like you said, everything changes. The focus becomes a lot more, I guess, tunnel vision like, because you're all of you, the squad, yourself, the coaches, people around you, academically too, because obviously you got to stay on track with the academics to be even able to continue playing. But like you said, it has to go to the next level, because now all of you are fighting for one common goal when you're all doing it together at the higher level. I'm curious to know if you've been able to take on any off the field or any non-football activities, anything that sparked your interest, something new, a passion that you developed maybe since you've been out there.
Yeah, so one of our coaches is like player development, player engagement, and we do a bunch of community work. So being in North Philadelphia, there's pockets in our community that are underachieving. Like they are left with no resources. They're left just kind of be on their own. And we've done a bunch of things. Like we went into a school that had low literacy rates, so we helped kids learn to read and become enthusiastic about reading. So we built a bond with the kids. We've been to that school a couple of times. We painted their library. We went and installed smoke detectors in an area where the housing was low and no one had smoke detectors and were at risk. So we went in and we installed smoke detectors in people's homes. We went and we did the Huddle Up for Autism with the Philadelphia Eagles at the Link. So we ran basically a camp-style day for kids with autism to get involved with football and Temple and the Eagles. So we do a bunch of community work, and you've seen the community work I did at the academy, and LinkedIn there. Like that's a big part in my heart is always giving back, and it's kind of like I want to leave my footprint. I don't just want to be someone who just went to school here. So we did a bunch of community work, which was cool. that's kind of what I've been getting involved with the most.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned Lincoln Field, so I have to come back to it. I don't know anyone who can say they've gone from the UK. They're playing Div 1 ball, they're playing with the Temple Owls, and they're playing at the Philadelphia. Like playing at Lincoln Field has just got to be a highlight. I mean, you've done it a number of times now, but for us lot back here who are watching you ball and watching you take part, you're stepping onto that field on a regular basis. You've probably become a bit more, normal to you. But the first time you did step onto that field and play, what did that feel like?
It felt like crazy. So here at Temple, we're a big who's gone to your school and there's pride in wearing the tee. So I don't know if you know Hassan Reddick.
Yeah.
He was
Of
a Temple
course.
Owl.
Yeah. Wow.
There's a few of them on that Eagles team. There's a few of them around the league, and like knowing that Hassan and all them boys run out the same tunnel on Sunday, and they run out the same tunnel as a Temple Owl. Like
Crazy.
it gives you power. Like sitting in that tunnel with your boys, and Coach Chris is there holding everyone back. The smoke comes, the fireworks go. We run out there, like it's just. And then you look up and you see that big stadium, and it's just like wow.
Damn.
Like,
yeah.
And it's like I'm very like religious myself. I look at that and be like, this is a blessing. Like God put me in a position here that no one else gets. Like a handful of people are here with me, and that's it. Like it is insane, and it's just like every time I run out and I look up there, like it just reminds me how blessed I am.
Honestly, I thought game days over here in the UK when I used to play, where I'm on a sideline on some field somewhere waiting to like run out, and you're there like in in Philly in the Lincoln Financial Stadium, like running out of the tunnel with the same guys that Hassan Reddick, who is an absolute monster on the edge, by the way. So it's just crazy to see, and I'm so proud and so happy that I'm actually able to do this catch up with you, because I know this one's going to be great in terms of people listening to your story, watching this back as well to see how far you've come and how much further you're going to go too. But as we wrap things up, I mean, Peter, it's incredible. Again, you kind of said it. Not a lot of people get this opportunity, let alone the opportunity to even be part of the NFL Academy, which in itself is still relatively new. I think you were one of the first intakes into the academy. We had the meet up at the Tottenham Stadium where you signed alongside some of the other guys, which feels like it was only yesterday. And now you're here after balling out for a season of college ball. It's just, it's insane. But I think the main thing to take away is the credit to you, to your family, to everything that you put in, all the coaches that have helped you get to where you are. But at the end of the day, it comes down to you. And you've obviously got the mindset, the talent, the ability, the work ethic and the drive to reach these heights. And the sky's the limit for you, man. I mean, there is no telling how far you can go. In terms of what's next for you, I guess you're not playing at the minute. You're just, like you said, a kid at college who's just lifting and working out. When do things pick up again for you?
So we go until school finishes here, which is mid-December. And then we get back in January and we start winter workouts. So still no football, but it's conditioning, getting ready for spring ball. And then spring ball rolls around February, March, I want to say. March. And then we got, I think it's 15 practices and a spring game, which is a bunch of fun. And then we get, obviously in January, we get the new intake of freshmen and transfers and stuff.
Yeah.
So it's football really starts, like the build for football really starts in January.
Which shows you a lot, because obviously people would say that's early, but really that's exactly where you need to be able to hit the ground running come game time. Peter, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you back on the show. This has been a bunch of fun doing this, and I can't wait to get this one out. It's been a pleasure. I wish you nothing but the best at Temple. I mean, just keep climbing, man. You are an inspiration to so many people, whether you know it or not. And I have to come back to that clip when you scored that touchdown. So many people were touched by that. I mean, let alone yourself, but so many people were touched by that. So just keep doing what you're doing, keep your head down, keep grinding, keep working, and I'm sure we'll do another catch up soon.
Yes, sir.
Well, I've been George from George on Sports with the main man here, tight end Peter Clarke, NFL Academy alumni now, balling out for the Temple Owls. And what can I say? Just keep doing what you're doing, and we'll see you guys on the next show.
Yes, sir.